Good morning. I was continuing with the chapter Elements, Compounds and Mixture. It's a chemistry chapter according to ICSE syllabus class 7. So I was continuing with that chapter. I'll start with today the need for the separation of components of the mixture. Why do we need to separate the components of the mixture? First need is to remove undesirable and harmful substances to get useful substances, and the third one is to get completely pure substances for preparing other useful substances. So to remove the desirable and the undesirable and the harmful substances from the mixtures. So to remove that, we need to separate the components of the mixtures. To get useful substances, like from ore we get the metal, that's a useful substance. So to get that substance, we need to separate the components of the mixture. Again, to get completely pure substances like distilled water, we get from the tap water. So for preparing other useful substances. Now, for example, water is required in its purest form to prepare medicines in the laboratories, for preparing solutions in car batteries, etc. Therefore, all impurities present in the water need to be removed. Again, cereals like rice, wheat or pulses often contain small stones, husks, etc. as impurities. So before cooking them, these impurities need to be removed because they are harmful. Then common salt is an important substance used in our food to add taste and nutrients. It is present in the seawater in plenty in the form of mixture. So to obtain the common salt from the seawater, we need to separate it from the seawater because it has many purposeful uses. Okay, so we need these for these are the requirements for which the separation is needed. Separation of the constituents of the mixtures are needed. Now, the process by which the method of separation. What is the method of separation? It's the process by which the constituents of the mixtures are set apart from one another to get pure substances. That is called the separation, method of separation. Now, the principle of separation depends on what? It depends on the type of mixture and the characteristics, properties of the mixture, such as the size, shape, color, density, melting point, boiling point, solubility, ability to sublime, volatility, magnetic nature, etc. So, according to these, the method of separation is chosen. Okay. Then first is solid mixture, how to separate them. First method is hand picking. Like in this, the quality of mixture is very small. Quantity of mixture is to be very small. If you see, we take a bowl of rice in which there are certain substances which are not required. So we take a bowl of rice. This quantity is small. The substances to be separated forms a small portion of the mixture. Okay, this which has to be separated, that is also in small portion. Then substances should be large enough to in size to be seen through the naked eye and picked out by the hand. Okay, so that way also the substances which are to be picked up, which are to be separated, should also be large in size so that we can see through our naked eye and they can be easily picked up. So, like the small stones which are present in the rice, pulses or any spices. So, we take a bowl of rice or pulses or some spices and we pick up the stones from that. The rice quantity is also small the things which are being separated, that is the stones, they are also in small quantity and they are large enough so that we can see through our eyes and we can pick it up by our hand. Okay, so these are the criteria for hand picking. Now we come to winnowing, and the second method of solid-solid mixture separation. Winnowing, what is winnowing? It's a process of separation of grain from husk or hay. Husk and hay with the help of wind. Okay, it's a separation, it's a process by which grain is separated from husk and hay. Okay, now the separate light solids from heavier ones. Here in this process, one solid should be heavy, another the solids which are to be separated, they are light ones. They can easily be separated by wind, blown away by the wind. They are generally used by the farmers, this winnowing process. Like rice is separated from husk. Okay. Then magnetic separation. Third separation process is magnetic separation. In this, the main criteria and the only criteria is this: the components of one of the components of the mixture should have the magnetic characteristics. That is, they are able to be attracted by a magnet. Okay. For example, the mixture of iron and sulfur, where iron can be easily attracted by magnet and can be separated from sulfur. Again, chalk and iron, mixture of chalk and iron. Here also iron is separated from the chalk by getting attracted towards the magnet, and the chalk remains. So this is the only criteria for magnetic separation. Then we come to gravitational method. Fourth method, gravitational method. Here, one component should be heavier and the one component should be lighter than water. So, in this case, one should be heavier than water, another should be lighter than water. Here, the mixture is dissolved in water, and the lighter one, that is the lighter substance which is lighter than the water, the substance which is lighter than the water will float, and the heavier substance which is heavier than the water will settle down below the water. Okay, in this way we can separate. For example, see, mixture of sand and sawdust. Then how can we separate this? We add water to it. Then sawdust being lighter than water, it will float on the water. And sand being heavier, it will settle down below the water. Now the sawdust will with water is slowly decanted and transferred to the other container and then filtered. It is filtered, and the sand which remains, which has settled down, the water that is remained inside, remain in the bottom of the container, is separated from the sawdust. Now, the fifth process is sublimation. In this process, one component should sublime on heating. The process, what is sublimation? It's a process in which solid directly changes into vapor without melting. This is the process called sublimation, where one component in this method of separation, one component should sublime. For example, mixture of sand and iodine, where iodine can sublime. Again, common salt and ammonium chloride, where ammonium chloride can sublime. On cooling, the vapor again turns into the solid, okay, and we can get that solid which has sublimed. Thus, in this way, the two solids can be separated. On cooling, okay, and I told you example is sand and iodine and common salt and ammonium chloride. The sublime solids can be camphor, naphthalene, iodine, ammonium chloride. Then the sixth method by which a solid can be separated is solvent extraction method. Here, one component should be soluble in a liquid. For example, a mixture of sand and salt. Here, salt gets dissolved in water. Sand settles down in the container. Salt solution is filtered out. Then it is evaporated. The salt solution is evaporated. Salt remains, water evaporates by this way. This solvent extraction method is also, it can also separate two liquids. I'll tell you later on. Now, separation of solid liquid mixture, sedimentation and decantation. Sedimentation and decantation. This is the solid liquid mixture separation number 1, method of separation number 1. Here, solid liquid mixture, the insoluble solid should be insoluble, heavy solid particles will be there, which can settle down. Okay, settling down of such solid is the sediment, and that is called sedimentation, because the heavy solid which settles down forming a sediment. Okay, and this process is known as sedimentation. Now the liquid which appears above the sediment, it becomes clear above the sediment, which is known as supernatant liquid, and this is decanted. This is poured out. This process is known as decantation. Okay, without disturbing the sediment. The supernatant liquid is poured out into another container without disturbing the sediment. This process is known as decantation. Okay, so the process is sedimentation and decantation. For example, mixture of sand and water, rice and water. Now, next process is filtration. Now here solid should be insoluble, like heterogeneous solid liquid mixture. Here it is allowed, the liquid is allowed to pass through, the mixture is allowed to pass through the filter paper, through a filter paper, where the solid which is collected in the filter paper is known as the residue, and the liquid which passes out through the filter paper into a container below is known as the filtrate. For example, chalk and water, clay and water, tea and tea leaves, sawdust and water. Filters, layer of sand. Filters which are used can be filter paper, it can be strainer, it can be glass wool, unglared porcelain, layer of sand, charcoal or cotton. One insoluble solid, that is the residue, that is the residue, and the liquid that passes through is the filtrate. Okay, now I stop here. I'll continue with the rest of the section, rest of the chapter in the next video. Please go through them. If you have any doubt, please write in the comment box. If you like the video, press the like button, and if you have not subscribed yet, or you are a new viewer to my channel, please do subscribe so that you can get the notification of my next video. Thank you.